Welcome to Evanced Solutions How-To Session. Today's session will cover how to add a new program, registration settings setup within Summer Reader. Let's begin by signing in to the staff side of your Summer Reader program. You will need to know your administrative password to sign in and do the modifications for today's session. Here in the password box, I am going to type in my administrative password, and I can either hit the Enter key on my keyboard or I can select the login by a simple click. When the program opens, it will open up in Manage Programs. For today's topic, we're talking about registration settings. So we can get to registration settings in one of two ways. If I was adding a brand new program, I would go up to System Maintenance. I would come down to Programs and select Add Program. And if you've listened to my previous recordings, you know that there are 4 steps into adding a new program. So I would populate all this information on step 1, move on to step 2, which is the language setup, and then step 3 is the registration settings. And that's where we would set up all the registration settings for a program. Now, if I wanted to make modifications to a current program, which is where we're going to work from today, I can go either to Manage Programs, select my program, and select the wrench next to that program, and that will take me into Program Setup. Or I could go to System Maintenance, go to Programs and Edit Program, select the program, and that will also take me into Program Setup. Once in Program Setup, I'm going to select Registration Setup. Once we're in Program Registration Setup, you will notice that there are several columns that we can make modifications to, as well as a lot of fields. The first column that you see there is the Order column, and the Order column is representing the order of each one of these fields. So going over to the second column is the list of fields. Going down the list, we have username, password, first name, middle name, last name. Pretty explanatory. Going all the way down, there are 33 fields. So the top section is your basic information about your patron. The second section is about where they are and how we can contact them. And then the third section is more about more specific information, such as having custom questions maybe that your particular library is looking for about this patron. The third column that you see within this list is Enabled. And as you can see, I already have some things marked as yes, I want them to be placed on the registration page. So if I wanted to turn on, let's say, maybe the parent guardian middle name, I would just put a check mark next to that field. I could do the same for street address 1, 2, city, state, country, zip code, all that great information, and that would be the fields that would display on the patron's registration page, asking them to populate. Now, we also have another column for required, and as you can see, some of those fields are required and I can't turn that on or off, such as username, password, first name and last name, and then the age. The other fields I can require as needed. So if I wanted to require that the patron put in the parent's first and last name, I would put a check mark next to that field. I could do the same going into the other 2 sections. The next column is the List column. The List column comes into play for those fields that we can set up a list for, such as country. So as you can see, country is enabled, and it also enables me to select the box for list. So if I come over here and I select country, that's going to turn on the list option. So I can go in and I can make modifications to that list, and then they would select from the list instead of just typing in United States or whatever country they're from. You can do that on zip codes, you can do it on city, you could do it on state. things like that to make it easier for the patron just to choose from the list. The next column that you see there is the search column. And enabling one of these fields is going to allow for you to be able to search based on that information. So for instance, if I wanted to turn on the search for the street address, when I'm searching for a patron in the system, I could put in possibly their street address and it would bring back their information. The last column is going to allow me to change the order of which the fields display on the registration. So if I wanted, let's say, the first name to the very top, what I would do is I would hit the up arrow 2 times to move it to the very top position. Now, as you can see, first name would be the first thing that they would see on their registration form, and then username, password, and then it would come down to last name.